is Kathleen. I really love movies and I love talking about them, especially when I get to talk about how gay they are. I recently had this experience seeing Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinert's, better known as the Daniels, sci-fi, action, adventure, comedy, dramedy really, film Everything Everywhere All at Once. And although I could probably write a thesis on this film, I'm just going to gush about my 3 favorite things. Narrowing it down to 3 was not an easy task. I'm really tempted to just nerd out about how it shares the same interdependent skill sharing popularized by my favorite gay sci-fi show on Netflix, Sense8, or how Joy's costumes in the film run the gamut of drag's subversion of destructive gender constraints. But I decided to focus on 2 characters and 1 theme instead. For now. Further, I just want to warn all those who might be a little sensitive to spoilers to stop here because I will be doing a deep dive of the film where plot points will be discussed at length. So, do yourself a huge favor. If you have not already seen the film, go see it. I'll wait. Now that your life has been exponentially enriched from seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once, you're welcome, by the way, I'm going to talk about my 3 favorite things. First is the character of Waymond, played by Kiwi Kwan, who is the husband of Michel Yeoh's protagonist, Evelyn.
你觉得我很软弱是吗?
The beauty and brilliance of Waymond's character is that he is a complete stereotype of Asian men in Hollywood, yet it's his perceived flaws that greatly contribute to Evelyn saving joy and ultimately everyone in the end.
What are you doing?
I'm learning to fight like you.
With the exception of the Jackie Chans and the Jet Lis of action films who must overcompensate in their masculinity just to combat the sexism and the racism they face in Hollywood, most Asian men in films are depicted as effeminate, therefore weak and feeble, and thus the butt of endless bad jokes.
我真的不知道，没有我他怎么活？
Alpha Waymond epitomizes the hyper-masculine Asian male lead, which is evidenced by his badass fanny pack fight sequence and his comments on who we're supposed to view as the lesser version of him.
I'm not the Waymond who wants to divorce you. I'm the Waymond who is saving your life.
We even see Evelyn falling for him as we bear witness to her endless eye rolls and snarky comments about her actual husband.
Alpha Waymond.
Evelyn?
However, in one of the most touching monologues of the film, Waymond explains how his empathy and compassion, characteristics that are typically deemed feminine and thus weak and undesirable in our sexist society, are basically superpowers. And they help Evelyn succeed when she has exhausted her violent action plans.
我总是看到事情好的一面，那不是因为我天真，而是必要，而需要。
In the end, Waymond proves to be true to the etymology of his name, a wise protector.
The only thing I do know is that we have to be kind.
My second favorite thing of the film is its treatment of failure. Joy's failure as a human and as a straight person is seen and felt through the eyes of both her mother and her grandfather.
Becky 是我的 shit, how do you say it? 她是我的
好朋友，老友嚟㗎。
Mom.
Waymond's failure as a man and as a husband is, as mentioned before, emphasized by his foil, Alpha Waymond. The main Evelyn we follow in the story is just straight up told by Alpha Waymond that as a result of her unfulfilled dreams and unfinished goals, she is living the worst version of herself.
You're living your worst you.
In our capitalist, heteronormative society, being queer is the ultimate failure. We are a disruption to the nuclear family, which, along with 2.5 kids and a white picket fence around a suburban house, is the cornerstone of the American dream. We are pushed to compete, to be the best, to succeed, to vie for what capitalists try to convince you are finite resources. My third favorite thing is the character of Joy, played by the delightfully talented Stephanie Hsu. Initially seen as the disappointment and shame of her mother Evelyn, partially out of her being a lesbian, we quickly come to find out that Joy is the big bad that Alpha Waymond recruits Evelyn to fight against.
He's an omniversal being with unimaginable power, an agent of pure chaos with no real motives or desires.
It is fitting that Joy, the explicitly gay character, is the first to experience all of space and time simultaneously.
Let me help you open up your mind, huh?
Not unlike Eve eating from the tree of knowledge, Joy becomes the enemy of Alpha Waymond and Alpha Gong, whose names, by the way, should not be lost on anyone, who are worried about our institutions crumbling and state that their mission is to take us back to how it's supposed to be.
Our institutions are crumbling.
How can we get back?
The same rhetoric is used today in homophobes and transphobes' efforts to erase queer histories and defend their anti-trans legislation because, to reference Halberstam again, in Foucault's radical formulation, queer friendships, queer networks, and the existence of these relations in space and in relation to the use of time mark out the particularity and indeed the perceived menace of homosexual life. They're not afraid of us having sex. It's never been about that. They're afraid of us because we are constantly inventing, exploring, experimenting, and offering new ways of living with and among each other. We threaten a disruption to the control that they maintain through ableism, sexism, capitalism, and white supremacy.
你可能喺佢嘅身上睇到晒你自己最大嘅恐懼。
This is partly why it is so poignant when Evelyn distances herself from the mission the moment that Alpha Gong warns her, after likening Joy to a witch, by the way, about becoming like her daughter.
Otherwise, it's only a matter of time before you become just like her.
Because heaven forbid we keep our minds open to new ideas that could perhaps alter a society that is not working for the majority of us, nor is it sustaining our planet.
Just like her.
Lastly, I adore that her name is a nod to the root and the embodiment of queer love. Much like its characters who literally open up new pathways in their brains to access skills by trying things that they are statistically unlikely to do,
Sir?
loving that Evelyn's first true foray into verse jumping skills is through her profession of love to another woman, by the way. Everything Everywhere All at Once encourages us to embrace the unfamiliar and to gracefully, albeit sometimes absurdly, face change with loving, open arms. Challenging bigotry and systemic oppression is a daunting undertaking. But sci-fi stories like this remind me that collectively, we can change things. As Adrienne Marie Brown so eloquently put it, all organizing is science fiction. We are shaping the future we long for and have not yet experienced. So, there you have it. Those are my 3 favorite things, even though I could keep talking about this film forever. So please do me a favor and tell me what your 3 favorite things are.
Organic.